So let's talk about one of these things. I talked about early in the episode, I mentioned that your data is walking out the front door. So number one, when you feed sensitive data, client data, like location data for a law firm client, for example, or did you ever think about that? Or proprietary business logic into a public AI model, it effectively is surrendering that confidential intellectual property, which, let me remind you, you paid someone to generate and create. You're surrendering that to train future models. And a lot of people are just out there using the free models. You need to stop that immediately. You need to go to a paid relationship with the models. It is the cheapest employee you will ever own. And by the way, I don't think they do everything that employees do right now, but not even close, no matter what somebody's trying to sell you on LinkedIn. But the reality of it is that you need to basically be paying for the models. If you can't pay $50 a month for an AI model or a subscription, you probably shouldn't be in business. I mean, you shouldn't be. Like, it's the cheapest thing you'll invest your money in. Okay, so that's number one. Okay, you need to basically make sure the data siphon gets cut off. And now, if you have a paid model, you need to look at your terms of service and find out, are you still training the models? Do you turn it off? There's a whole bunch of stuff that we've used, and this is one of the reasons we built EasyPrompter.ai, was because we keep that information. None of that information is necessarily shared with the models. It all works on an API, advanced programming interface basis, so that your information is not being trained on. But outside of that, if you're going to a model directly or what have you, they aren't all created equal. Some of the models, there is no expectation of privacy. Very few of the Chinese produced models, Kimi, Quinn, DeepSeek, all of those are pretty much, there's no expectation of privacy in any of those. Okay, can't do that. But even with the others, you have to look in there. Even Anthropic, which I tend to like better than a lot of the other companies, you have to make sure you have those things turned off. Google right now is training on your data from different things in Google Workspaces. If you've opted in to using their AI tools, they're training on that. So that's the first thing. You don't want to let them just siphon your proprietary information. And here's the thing. You really want to make sure that people understand how big a deal this is. Let's say you put in a trade secret. You do it once. You just lost your trade secret. If you're Coca-Cola and you put in the secret formula for Coke, it's gone. Baby, there ain't no way to get that back. The next one I want to talk about is copyright. I know a lot of people out there, copyright's kind of this mealy-mouthed, mushy middle thing. Copyright still has value in the United States, and it's very important that using unvetted AI to generate client deliverables, like your website copy or your scripts you're writing in WordPress, there's actual real risk in selling work that you don't hold the copyright to. If you generated 100% with AI, you do not own any copyright in that material. Did your contract say you were transferring all the copyright, or that you were providing them copyright in those materials? People may not realize you're doing that. Now, maybe you don't care, but you probably should. As I said earlier, academic until you get sued. And this will happen at some point in time. It's not to scare people. Like the governance episode, it's been 20 minutes of just go do these 10 things today, and you get rid of 80% of your liability. The last one I wanted to say really about, these are real world risks, is everyone's heard about hallucination in the models. These are models either making up something of whole cloth, confabulating something, it actually believes that this is a correct answer to it. And there's a lot of danger of staff using AI outputs, without a better term, just blindly for critical tasks like proposals or pricing. You need to verify before you trust. It's not trust then verify. It's verify before you trust. And that is the difference between a human in the loop and a human on the loop. So human on the loop means you check it after the fact. That means you would be trust but verify. You need to verify before you trust, which is a human in the loop. So you verify the data before you ever think about trusting it. And just because it did it once, you have to check this every single time. And I think this is where with agentic type applications, it's very challenging that people don't know what they're doing there with it. The other thing I want to say about this is the problem with, as the models have gotten better and better at persuasion, is that they're very, very good at persuading you that their outputs are correct, when in fact they're just made up out of whole cloth. And the problem with hallucinations is not just a hallucination. Because of how the models are trained, a lot of times they confabulate it. It's like misremembering something, and you're convinced that it's true. That's what the models are doing. The last one I want to talk about is the sycophantic nature of the models. No matter what you ask the models, in most cases, unless you ask it to provide you the devil's advocate, the other side of it, you may present something to your boss that is really, really Not a good idea. And because you haven't applied your own critical thinking, you haven't applied your own brain power to it, you're like, oh, this is really great. And it convinces you of this argument and it gives you all these reasons behind it. More than half of the time, the model is invested in you agreeing in the kind of the agreeableness of you to what the model's outputs are. These are how they are reinforced in learning. And that is a massive, massive problem. In most cases, you need to be asking the model when it gives you an idea for something. You need to don't hit the easy button. You need to say, what's the worst case version of this? Give me the devil's advocate or the other side of this argument. That is incredibly important for you because a lot of times it'll say, we should totally do this thing. And it may sound a little weird. And by the way, I'm going to tell you right now, you need to start trusting your gut instinct. Because when the models give you a bad idea, if you continue down that road of tell me why this is a good idea, it's going to gradually erode that gut reaction to what it was. When you get an ad that the model puts out, if you're not in advertising, it's kind of a dangerous piece for you anyway. But it's really, you get the ad and you're like, it's not really a great ad, right? No, this is a great ad. And here's why. Is it providing any real market data? The answer is no. This happens, and I run an advertising agency. This happens all the time. Sometimes you'll propose an idea to our client. Our client will have a really bad idea, and the agency can persuade the client over the next 45 minutes, no, this is a really good idea. And that's how you end up with the Lincoln Town Car commercial with Matthew McConaughey. There are ways that this happens, and I have a pretty good idea of how that commercial got pitched and sold. The ad does this all the time and twice on Sundays. If your first reaction to what the model comes up with is a bad idea, don't ask it for more reasons over why this is a good idea. You need to trust your gut. Now, where I think people get in trouble with this, and this is my fifth real world risk for small and medium businesses, is if you are not an expert in the thing or the domain that the AI is asking you to do, you have no idea what you're walking into. How can you verify if you have no idea about the law? What should I do about the law here? You should do the following. Let me ask you a question. Would you have done that with a Google search 10 years ago? Would you have done it with a Google search 6 years ago? Would you said, oh no, Google said this. Now I know some people do. But a lot of you out there running businesses would be like, well, I need to get a second opinion on this. Get your second opinion. And no, that is not a follow-up with the AI. If it's hallucinated once, it'll just get worse. So that's what I want you to really understand about this 5 real world risks. This is not to go say no. The whole next episode, which make sure you subscribe so you get notifications about that next episode. The whole reason this is important is this is why you need to establish governance.